Hey Juliana, how's it going?
Hi, Matt. Good. How are you?
I'm doing so well.
I'm
I
good.
so appreciate your time, taking the time to talk to me today about your new book. I'm really excited about it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I want to introduce you to our readers. We have the privilege today of talking to Juliana Hever, MSRD CPT. She's a registered dietitian, the host of the wellness talk show series What Would Juliana Do on Varia Living Network, author of the best-selling book The Complete Idiot's Guide to Plant-Based Nutrition, and her upcoming book The Vegetarian Diet. She's also the nutrition columnist for Veg News magazine. Juliana co-authored The Complete Idiot's Guide to Gluten-Free Vegan Cooking and is a recipe contributor to both New York Times best-selling Forks Over Knives cookbooks. She counsels a variety of clients throughout the world from her Los Angeles, California-based private practice, including elite athletes, adults, and children with various nutritional and/or medical concerns. To learn more, I highly recommend you visit her website at www.plantbaseddietitian.com. So, Juliana,
Matt.
there's so much to talk about. Um,
Yes.
you've done so much, but what I am most excited about and why I have asked you to join me today is to talk about this amazing new book that I've had the privilege to read as well, The Vegetarian Diet. So let's dive right into that. Can you tell me a little bit, what's the premise behind the book? What inspired you to write this?
I'm so excited about this book. This is kind of like a passion project I've been working on for a year and a half.
Wow.
And yeah, really put my heart and soul in it. My first two books were like 6 week like I wrote the whole book in 6 weeks. So this was a very different experience for me. But it started with I was on a trip. I was asked to speak on a cruise in the Mediterranean. Terrible gig.
Oh no.
And I'm sitting there, enjoying the food and just thinking, wow, why is the Mediterranean diet the gold standard in the research when we see all these magnificent benefits of a plant-based diet? So I decided to kind of delve into the research, and I had so much fun. I mean, I went into like Greek mythology and all the way back to, ancient Greece and Plato and Aristotle. And then I was studying all of the history of the Mediterranean research, from Ansel Keys and beyond. And it continues to this day. We're getting new publications on the med populations and new studies right consistently.
Right.
So it's a very exciting, timely topic. And I found out that they perfectly are enmeshed together forever.
How interesting. So what is it?
Yeah. So the number one reason that the Mediterranean diet is so successful, one of the top 5 reasons, is because it's a plant-based diet. That's my thesis.
I see. So what then is the difference between the classic Mediterranean diet and your spin on it here that you talk about in the book, the Vegetarian diet? Because there are some differences, right?
There are some differences. Well, the Mediterranean diet does include some animal products. That's just because that's what's happened over the last few decades. People have incorporated more and more animal-based foods. So I argue that there are a lot of reasons to go completely vegan and to take out all of the animal products. And that's why I get to talk about all the environmental implications and what we've seen in the research, the health benefits of eating an exclusively plant-based diet. So I've taken out all the animal products. So it is a vegan Mediterranean diet. And I also did something that's kind of crazy and heretical, and I took out the olive oil. So one of the big myths is, oh, it's the olive oil that makes it such a healthy diet. But I think my conclusion after looking at a ton of articles and kind of talking to some of my colleagues was that perhaps the Mediterranean diet is healthy and successful in spite of the olive oil, not because of it. And I go into great detail. I'm sure you saw a lot about the fatty acids and my end game argument is if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you don't need the olive oil. It's not the olive oil that makes it so healthy. It's all of these wholesome plant foods.
Right. Yeah, and I love how you go into the book about the whole, the lifestyle of it, that it's so much more than just, it's really important, these, the fact that it's a very plant-based diet, the different nutritional things that you go into. But one thing that you share as well that I really love is just the sense of family, of fun, of, food as this celebration that's really embraced by the Mediterranean diet. So I loved how you brought that in, and obviously the plant-based connection is really interesting and important, and the way that it's presented as well is really interesting.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I love that when I was on my trip, and when I love digging into this culture, and I'm very partial to Italy. I just love everything Italian. So, there's a lot of Italian words and verbiage and kind of, culture that I've kind of added as much as I could in there. But part of that culture, and that's just one of the many, there's what, like 30, I don't remember, 18 different countries that are technically on the Mediterranean border, but I just pick on that because I love it so much. But if you think about the traditional Italian heritage, and it's all about the family, and sitting down to dinner, and a lot of these cultures, and most of the traditional cultures, we're all about having a family meal. And, we all get caught up in our day-to-day lives. I'm guilty. I don't sit down with my kids every single meal, but
Right.
we do our best. But I think that part of just going back to loving food and loving the all of the stuff that goes around what's the word I'm looking for, the culture, the habitual part of eating and the fun parts of eating and enjoying your food is a big component to ultimate health.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that experience and that celebration, that relationship to food, because it's such a joyful, amazing thing. And one thing, so a lot of my readers aren't totally plant-based, so they're at different levels along the spectrum. And especially for the people that are more curious, that are starting to embrace this lifestyle, a lot of people think that, there's a lot of restriction. They think about, like what can't I eat? And for me personally, I mean, it's so abundant, and it's such a celebration of all these different kinds of foods. And I think that's one thing that makes the diet so powerful, is you get to enjoy, this amazing variety of herbs and spices and vegetables. And I eat more variety now than I did before I went plant-based.
Oh my gosh, me too, completely. And for those your readers and mine too, I'm actually, that's a big thing for me, is I want people to feel like they don't have to be perfect. It's not about perfection. It's not about being 100% vegan if you don't, if you really don't want to. It's about the journey and honoring people where they're at. And I agree that's one big myth too that people think is, oh, what do you eat when you eat this way? And there's
Right.
yeah, you have to explore, because you're kind of forced into it in a gentle way, and all of a sudden you get to realize how many delicious types of cuisine naturally were plant-based, and all these different flavors and combinations that we could enjoy so many multitudes of delicious foods.
Right. Yeah. So I love that. I love how you focus on the enjoyment and the celebration and the larger context. So it's really interesting how you talk about the myths of the Mediterranean diet, and what you've done is you've put less of an emphasis on the olive oil, and in fact have taken it out. And that people are actually, the Mediterranean diet is very successful in spite of that, versus, having it be one of the things that makes it so powerful. What other myths are there in the Mediterranean diet that you discovered?
I took out the wine. It's not the red wine. Believe me, I love my glass of wine. I love wine, but it's not the wine that was successful. Wine is just another. It's considered that you're supposed to have the red wine for the antioxidants and all that stuff. And yes, it is rich in antioxidants, but so is the grape. So are the other plant foods that people are incorporating. So it's not because of the wine. And I go a little bit into detail on that too. And of course, alcohol can be toxic, and it is toxic in high doses. Mm-hmm. So I don't want people to think that they need to have wine in any way, shape, or form to enjoy a Mediterranean or vegetarian diet. So I've taken the wine is just kind of at the tip of my vegetarian food pyramid, that it's optional. And if you're not pregnant or driving, or all the reasons you would be cautious about alcohol anyway, right. It can be healthy to enjoy a glass of wine with your dinner, but it's not going to be the ultimatum in why you get healthy from it. The other thing I took out was the fish. That's another myth. It's the fish. So it's the wine, it's the fish, and it's the olive oil. Those are like the biggest myths that I took out. And we don't have fish the way they had fish 50, 60 years ago in the original studies. Our fish is completely polluted now, right, with all these toxins and all these environmental contaminants and radiation, all the stuff that's been, ending up in our oceans. So you're better off getting your omega-3 fats from plant sources. And I talk into detail about how to do so optimally.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, so it's really interesting. And, we have this idea that it's because of these certain elements, the olive oil, the wine, the fish, these are the things that make the diet healthy. But really, when you look at the science of it, and I love what you've done is looked at it very critically and seen, okay, what actually is giving us the biggest health benefit here, and what has just kind of come along with that. So the way that you separated those different pieces, I think, is really interesting and makes it, very applicable to whatever program people are on, whatever paradigm they're coming from, they can see that, okay, eating a more plant-based diet is actually going to give you these benefits. And maybe it's not the fish, maybe it's not the olive oil, maybe it's not the red wine. So those aren't necessarily substantiated with the research.
Right. Yeah, and I think that we get lost in that. I think that's a very common pitfall in today's society is that we hear about this magic potion or this one food or this pill that's going to change everything and protect you from, disease and all that. And it's not that simple. Our bodies are not that simple. Our bodies are infinitely complex, and there's just so many different mechanisms that come into play. And I like to what I've tried to do here is take the bird's eye view and say, look at your lifestyle. What are you doing? Are you moving? Are you managing stress? Are you eating a lot of, what is your diet? What is your diet not consist of? What do you avoid? And just take all of those different issues and put them all together into a healthy lifestyle. So this is really not, I didn't even want to use the word diet, but, people like the word diet and and the publishers wanted the word diet in it. So it's a diet, but really it's a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I love that too because it so flies in the face of so much of the conventional tips and tricks and, take this magic pill and you're going to lose weight. And that stuff just doesn't work. And I love that, we're honest about what it actually takes to get healthy and be successful long term. And it does. It comes down to the lifestyle. It comes down to the habits. And it comes down to doing these things long term. But as we mentioned, it doesn't have to be a chore. It doesn't have to be drudgery. It can just be an incredible celebration of certain food groups that are abundant, are delicious, and happen to be very beneficial to our health.
Well stated, exactly.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So, talking about the food, what are the recipes like?
Okay, so I have 66 recipes, and they're all Mediterranean style, but different Mediterranean. So I've got like Egyptian dishes and Israeli dishes and Italian dishes and just kind of like different kind of authentic recipes. Like I went to the source. When I was in Turkey, I went to this one restaurant and I met the owner, this woman that was a chef, and she was the mama. It was like Mama's Kitchen or something. And I'm trying to explain I'm vegan. What plants do you have? And so she's like, oh, and she's so excited. So she showed me, and she showed me what I could eat on all the, on the buffet. And my plate was out to here. Like me and my mom had this humongous meal, and it was delicious. And so we bought her cookbook. And of course, so I took them back home and I was looking through the cookbook, and so then I adapted some of those recipes and made them oil-free and vegan. And so they're very authentic recipes. And this is the way I eat. This is what I've been eating forever. But it's been a fun Mediterranean style version of vegan cuisine.
Yeah, that's so great. Going to the source. I love that, versus a lot of times, especially when people are starting out, there's a lot of transition foods. The different soy products, the different meat substitutes and things like that, which I think are great. But there's so many authentic cuisines that are naturally plant-based. And when you go to the source, Indian food, Ethiopian food, all these, delicious cuisines that are naturally that way. For me personally, I love exploring all the different ethnic cuisines and the plant-based variations of those. And they really stand on their own.
Oh, yeah, me too. Honestly, I kind of want to do this for every culture now.
Yeah.
Where can I tackle next?
There you go.
What kind of food do I love to eat? Because, I spend a lot of time in the kitchen. It's funny, it's not a cookbook technically, but it's got 66 recipes. So a lot of people expect it to be a cookbook. But I do like learning the science and the history and the cuisine too. It's kind of like I felt like I spent a year and a half in the Mediterranean.
Right.
And I'm hoping, honestly, Italy, if you're listening, I want this to be a way to come back out there because I love it there.
Yeah, there you go. So tell me a little bit, within the book, there's so much, the way that you talk about it, there's so much passion and there's so much enthusiasm for the culture. And that really comes across in the book. And I can see how much your personal journey has inspired what you've written about. Tell me about that. Tell me about the personal stories or experiences that went into this.
Yes, it was really exciting. Okay, my first two books were scientific, or it was a nutrition book, and then it was a cookbook, and it was very sciencey, and there was nothing personal about it. So here I was like, wait a second, I could talk about me and my story and how I got here, and maybe some people will relate to it, because I found that in my lectures that kind of comes through, and people connect with my story sometimes, like I connect with other people's stories. So I had, that when they talk about flow as a writer, when you just start writing and it just comes out?
Yeah.
I rarely had those experiences, and never to this extent. So I started writing chapter three, which was my honestly, chapter three is my heart and soul in a book.
Wow.
And I started typing, and I was talking about why I'm vegan and all this. And I mean, I couldn't type fast enough. Tears are pouring down my face, and I was like in flow. I'm like, oh, this is what they mean. Because when you're writing science, it's very, you want to corroborate and triangulate everything, and you're looking
Right.
at articles and research. But this was just like story, and it was just, oh my god, it was so exciting, and it felt so good. And but I also, on the other hand, I feel kind of raw and naked putting this book out there to the public because here's my heart, here you go. But it was really exciting to be able to talk about the things that I'm most passionate about, like animals and why the environmental implications of eating animals and what's happening with antibiotic overuse, and just there's so many other issues besides the nutritional science, and I feel so excited to be able to share them in this
Yeah.
part.
The whole perspective that you bring is really amazing, and I loved especially the one story where you had gone vegetarian. You'd read John Robbins' book. You had gone vegetarian, and your health was declining because you really didn't know how to do it. And so your parents staged this intervention, and you're at the steakhouse, and you're trying to decide if you're going to eat the steak or not. And I think it's such an interesting thing where all these greater social issues of the animal rights and the environmental implications and all those things, you're struggling with that versus the personal experience of feeling like this had to be done for nutritional reasons before you had the education and the background and actually met this is a while ago, so other people that were doing this kind of thing. And it's just, for me, it really touched me into how a plant-based diet allows us to bring in all those different elements into alignment, and how amazing that must have been for you to find that, okay, eating this way is actually very health promoting, and when I celebrate, when I eat in a way that uplifts my body, it's also eating in a way that uplifts the planet, that uplifts the environment, that uplifts this connection between us and all other sentient beings. And feeling like those things had to be at odds and then having it all come together, it was just so amazing for me.
Yeah, oh, exactly, Matt. And I came up with this term for it now, like a symbiotic trifecta. Like the
Yeah.
fact that all three, if it all makes sense and it works for everyone, then why aren't we all doing it? It's like a win-win-win. And yes, exactly. It was like when I finally found out, wait a second, my feeling, my intuition was right. Like this is right. This is good, not only safe, but healthier, like the healthiest way to eat. So this is why I can't stop talking about plant-based nutrition.
So one more question: who is this book for? Who do you hope reads this book?
I hope, like you said, I hope that everyone finds something in this book. I feel like it's not for just for vegan audience. It's not just for people that to try to get them to go vegan. My goal with this book was to put nutrition into historical and global context. And I document cardiovascular disease's relationship with nutrition from the beginning, from all that research, starting with Ansel Keys and all that stuff, or not even with Ansel Keys, but at the same time as Ansel Keys. And when all of that information was growing about, oh wait, cardiovascular disease can be, modified by the diet, and all that stuff, like all those different heart studies. And so I want people to see that nutrition is responsible, or does play a role. I shouldn't say responsible because it's not solely responsible, does play a significant key factor in optimal health. And I wanted people to see where that came from and why. And I've got a lot of behavioral stuff, so people that are trying to lose weight. I talk about all the different life cycles, pregnancy, breastfeeding, and I've been through all of them. Athlete, weight loss, I've been through all of those. Haven't been through senior yet, but that's in there too. And I'm raising kids this way, so I just and then the recipes for the people that are interested in Mediterranean cuisine. I hope they'll try the recipes and say, wow, I don't really need the animals or even the olive oil. And by the way, there's no shame in the olive oil. I tell people, and if you want to do it, do it. But it's an easy way to cut calories if you're trying to lose weight. And that's my ultimate conclusion is it's more of a friendly, like, not don't ever have olive oil, you're going to die. But it's more like, I don't think it's the reason for it, but here's a way to do it without. And I didn't use it in any of my recipes or sugar. And so they're all whole food, plant-based. And so ultimately, I'm hoping that everyone kind of finds something in there, in this book, that they can resonate with, because like I said, it's my heart and my soul in writing.
Yeah, and I think they will too. And like you were just mentioning about the olive oil, everything is presented in a way that's very friendly. It's very non-dogmatic. There's been a ton of research that has gone into this, and obviously your personal experience. You have done so much of this work in so many different realms, whether it's fitness or weight loss, and having the nutritional understanding to back it up. It's one of the most comprehensive books, I think, that someone could find on the subject. So it's a great primer for somebody that's interested in getting started. It's a great inspiration for somebody that's on the path and needs a little bit more of a push. And it's also great for people that have been doing this for a long time and want to understand more of the historical context, and just bring more of that joy and pleasure and fun of the Mediterranean into their lives. So
Thank
the
you, Matt.
the Vegetarian Diet. It is coming out on, oh shoot, tell me again. December
December
23rd.
23rd. Yep, and it's
December
shipping already.
23rd.
So it's out.
Okay, it's shipping already. So please check it out. Juliana, if someone wants to buy the book, what's the best way to do that?
Well, either on Amazon or on barnesandnoble.com, or I'm selling signed copies on my website. I got my box in the mail yesterday, so I'm ready to go.
Cool.
But any way you can, I would be grateful for the support and hope everyone loves it. And thank you so much for supporting it.
Yeah, definitely check out the book. Check out Juliana's website. She has a lot of great material on there. She runs a fantastic blog. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Congratulations on the book. It's a wonderful accomplishment. And thanks for having the courage to share your heart and soul with us in this way.
Thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.